Are you seeking fulfillment for your life? Do you want freedom from fear? That's why we're here. Welcome to Jesus 101, introducing you to the real Jesus. And now, here's your host, Elizabeth Talbot.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jesus 101. We continue with our exciting series on the battles in the Bible. And we have called this series, The Battle is the Lord's. And today we have a very interesting program. We are calling it The Battle of Inclusivity. And for that, we have called a very, what can I call you? A very deep student of the Word.
I mean, an eager student, hopefully.
This is Pastor Massiel, Davila-Ferrer. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Are you as excited as I am about this story?
I am very excited.
I'm like rubbing my hands together because it is unlike anything we've talked about so far.
Yeah, because there's a woman that's going to show up. Yeah, how
in
appropriate.
Battle, in
right?
battle, right?
Yeah, that's what's so strange about it, is that, okay, so this is the reason why we call the battle of inclusivity is because we're talking about all the battles as metaphors that God used to show us that the salvation comes from Him, that is Him. And not only that He's in charge of the battle, but that we know how the story ends.
That's right.
And God wins, Jesus wins.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that's right. So we know the ending.
Yeah.
So while we're here on this earth, who is an agent of God? You know, in this battle between good and evil that Jesus already has won at the cross, who does He use as His agents? You know, and lately we've been seeing in the country problems with racial issues, with gender issues. I mean, do you have to be black or white or young or old or man or woman to be used by God?
That's right. And if we're looking at the stories in the past, we've looked at Moses, we've looked at Joshua. They had the appearance, the
they
CV
look like a real
leaders,
leader.
of commanders. But we're going to look at somebody
who didn't fit the mold.
Yes, but is very much leading and leading during a time of crisis.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so we are now in the book of Judges, but before we go there, I want to show you the drawing for this battle. As you know, we have an artist who has created a drawing for each one of our battles, and this is an unusual drawing because we see people singing, and we're going, okay, what kind of battle is that they're all singing, right? Well, this is Deborah and Barak. And we're going to talk about their story and how come they ended up singing. So let's get started, and we are going to go to the book of Judges. Now, the book of Judges is a very interesting book because it has a pattern.
Yes.
What is that pattern?
The pattern is, Israel starts to kind of pull away from God. They disobey, and then they get subjugated by the lands around them, and they cry out for help. And God's deliver us, and He does. And He saves them, and it's nice for a little while, and then they start to get pull away. God deliver us, and He does, and it's repeated. There is sometimes peace in the land, and sometimes Israel is doing what seems right in their own eyes.
Yes.
But that never happens in our lives, right? Never.
That's right. That's right. And of course, she's being sarcastic because this happens to us all the time.
Constantly.
And God delivers them when they ask for help. So we have this ongoing pattern. Sometimes they have peace for 20 years, for 7 years, or 20 or 40 years. But then they leave the Lord, and then they get oppressed by their enemies, and then they need against.
And He rises up in the deliverance. He also rises up a tool for their deliverance.
Yes,
and that comes in the Judges.
And they're called judges in this book. And so here we have a very interesting surprise. We are in a moment that is needing a military leader. We are told in verse 30 of chapter 3 of Judges that Moab had been subdued and the land was undisturbed for 80 years. But then on chapter 4, verse 1, we again get a problem. So let's read chapter 4, verse 1 and 2.
Okay. After Ehud died, the Israelites once again did evil in the eyes of the Lord. So the Lord sold them into the hands of Jabin, a king of Canaan, who reigned in Hazor. The commander of his army was Sisera, who lived in Harosheth Hagoyim.
Yeah, and so here we have a problem. We have a commander that is from the enemies, and we need an actual military leader, a military force. We are needing a new leader to deliver them, and God is going to choose now a leader, and we're expecting a mighty, commander to come and say, woo, like a second Moses or a second Joshua. And this is what we get. Verse 3, 4, and 5.
Sure. Because he had 900 chariots and cruelly oppressed the Israelites for 20 years, they cried out to the Lord for help. So we've got a big military power.
Yes.
Verse 4, Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, was leading Israel at the time. That's a surprise.
Yeah.
Okay,
surprise.
We're going to talk about more.
Yes.
She held court under the palm of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim, and the Israelites came to her to have their disputes decided.
Okay, everything is a surprise.
Yes.
First of all, they have this enemy that is coming with, and we're told 900 iron chariots, which is going to be an important piece of information for what we're going to find in a moment here. And so we're expecting this military leader, and here comes a woman.
Yes.
Her name is Deborah, and she's a prophetess. Remember Miriam, the sister of Moses?
Prophetess.
That was the first prophetess.
Yeah.
Here we have another prophetess. But she's not just a prophetess. She's also a wife, the wife of Lapidoth. So for those that say that God always chooses women when there are no men available, here we have, her husband that is available, and God chooses her.
Yes. I know. Okay,
I know,
we're
don't even
smiling at each other. We're
Yeah.
feeling all the feelings because, you can't help but draw encouragement in your personal life from this
Absolutely.
story.
Yeah.
She's being asked to lead, as I mentioned before, during a hard time, and it's a hard role that she's leading.
Yes.
But she's doing it amidst the other roles that she is fulfilling.
And that's the thing. She's a wife. She probably cooks every day. She's also a prophetess, so she has messages from the Lord. And she, verse 5, she used to sit under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel and the hill country of Ephraim, and the sons of Israel came up to her for judgment. And I have to point out that this is the only judge in all the book of Judges that is described as deciding court cases. None of the other judges, Gideon or Jephthah or Samson, are said that they were deciding court cases.
So she is actually practicing that kind of daily active leadership.
Yeah.
For
She's
her
sitting
nation.
always under one particular tree.
Yeah.
So if you have a problem with your
You
neighbor,
can count on her.
You go to that tree and you know that you can bring her. Yeah. And she probably taught the law too, because that was the role of a judge.
I feel like there's so much that we get in that quick picture about her presence, about her consistency in leadership, her wisdom. We get a lot in these just handful of words about the kind of person she could have been.
Yes, and I believe that her authority is derived from her prophetic gift. If you believe that somebody is being taught by God directly, of course she's going to have authority too, right? So I just want to help us imagine a woman that is having to do all these things. Okay. So I'm just going to try here.
Can I help you with your beautiful props?
So this is actually an apron that my mother made for me, and it's very dear for me because as you know, she has passed away since then.
She would be very proud that you are matching. Also,
I know, I'm matching my outfit, right? So imagine you have Deborah in the kitchen, and she's the wife of Lapidoth. I don't know if they had children or not, but I'm sure she cooked, and she liked to be in the kitchen like most of us do. But then she was a judge, and she decided court cases. So you can see her in these different roles. She's having to hold up law. She's called to judge between the people, and she's still a woman in her duties as a wife. But then in a moment, we're going to add a little more.
That's not all for Deborah.
She's going to go to battle. And this is one of those strange things that happens only in the Bible, where God does things that people were not expecting. And God says, look, I choose who I'm going to use. Because the battle is the Lord's. And some of the battles that we are waging in our own heads is, can God use everybody?
Yes.
As an agent.
And also, Pastor Elizabeth, you look at all the things she had going on. How many times do we think to ourselves, I've got enough on my plate.
Yeah.
That's not my battle.
And then God calls you into unexpected places. And this is not just for women. This is for men too. And this is for young people. See, young people say, no, I'm too young. You know, this happened to one of the prophets in the Bible. I'm too young. God says, no, I'm choosing you.
Yes.
Right? So God's call takes us to unexpected places. Now, I'm going to keep my armor here. And let's talk a little bit about this, because the battle is the Lord's. And don't forget that we are studying the battles as metaphors of salvation, because God is always doing the battles. The people are not doing the battle, but he still uses agents to do his bidding, right?
Yes.
And he enables them to do things that were not necessarily the status quo at that time, you know?
He breaks the mold every time. He includes us, and it's audacious of God to do that.
Yes.
It confuses us, which again is one of his favorite tactics. I'm sure it confused the people around them.
That's
like
right.
Deborah leads by the tree, that I'm used to, but what is she doing in this setting?
And so let's talk about it, because she calls Barak, and he seems to be an outstanding tribal leader in Naphtali, but she says, God is calling you to actually lead the army against their oppressors, of all of Israel's oppressors, right? So let's read verse 6.
Verse 6 says, she sent for Barak, the son of Abinoam, from Kadesh in Naphtali, and said to him, the Lord, the God of Israel, commands you, go take with you 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun, and lead the way to Mount Tabor.
Yeah, so she says, God is calling you, and he is in Kadesh, Naphtali, right? This outstanding tribal leader now is becoming a national commander, right? And it's interesting because verse 7, read
I will lure Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his troops to the Kishon River and give him into your hands. So the summons comes with a plan and the promise of victory already.
It's amazing, because God says, you're going to have victory assured, and this is the plan. And she gives the commander a detailed plan ahead of time, because don't forget, the battle is the Lord's, and he's never caught by surprise with your battles. Right?
Yeah.
And so there's no surprise for God. The surprises come to us, but there's never a surprise for God. God already knew what you were going to do, what's going to happen. He knew that your lab report was going to say cancer. He knew about your divorce. He knew about everything. And so nothing catches him by surprise. And he says, well, trust me. Just trust me. And I'm going to use you, even though other people say you are not qualified.
That's right. And even in the summons, there's like, gather these people. You will be able to gather 10,000. There's already these resources that are going to come for you, or come with you.
That's right. And so here comes Barak. And
I think he's very reasonable. I know he might get a bad rap, but I don't think that this is a bad thing how he answers.
Well,
maybe.
Before we go to his answer, I just want to remind us that God has a covenant with Israel, that he is going to draw the nations away so that they can conquer this land. This is a 400-year-old prophecy at this time, right? And so God is working his covenant, and every little battle is working within a bigger context. I think we need to remember that, because even our own lives are happening within a much bigger picture. We have a little part of the history, but there's a bigger picture, and that bigger picture is the salvation of humanity. And God has made a covenant, and he will fulfill it with or without us. The issue is that what is our part in it?
Yes, and doesn't it put in perspective sometimes when we're feeling so discouraged by our battle that it isn't necessarily just our battle. This has eternal consequences.
Absolutely.
The way that we present God or show how he's victorious in our individual lives. In my little corner of Lacombe, God is winning battles for me.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And I have to tell you, for example, I never thought I was going to be a minister. It wasn't my plan. You know, I worked in the business world for 15 years. Then one day I got a call to ministry. That was more than 20 years ago. And my whole life changed, but I felt a call from God, and I could not say no. And of course, I got the most horrible messages on my answer machine at the time. Like, who do you think you are? But the call didn't come from people. It came from God.
From God.
So then I went and got trained and did my master's, my PhD to be the best I could be. But the battle continues to be the Lord's.
That's right.
So when it got too heavy, I was like, okay, Lord, you called me. So here we go.
I hear you. To my
I know you hear
tippy
me.
toes, I
know you hear me. Okay, so here we go. Let's study what Barak says.
Okay.
Verse 8.
Barak says to her, if you go with me, I will go. but if you don't go with me, I won't go.
Let's go on.
Okay, so Deborah says, very well, I will go with you. But because of the way you're going about this, the honor will not be yours, for the Lord will hand Sisera over to a woman. So Deborah went with Barak to Kadesh.
Okay, so here we are. So
Okay.
Barak says, I'm not going to go to battle if you don't come with me. Of course, what he's wanting is prophetic guidance.
Yes.
Because she's a prophetess.
The assurance of God.
Yeah,
the
that God is
words
with.
come with
but,
me.
But Deborah says, look, it was enough that the word came from God. You should
Yes.
have trusted it. So now the honor of getting this enemy commander is going to be with a woman. And everybody thinks it's Deborah, but it's not Deborah. It's another woman.
It's another surprise.
Yes.
Again,
Yes.
God is weaving more and more people. Like he's already inclusive with Deborah, but
Yeah.
he's going to include people.
Another
Yeah.
woman. So I just want to tell you a couple of things here. I love the plan, verses 6 and 7, because I want to show you a little bit of a video of Mount Tabor. Mount Tabor, we went with our crew and a group to Mount Tabor, and we saw it. It's so steep that even though this enemy had 900 chariots with horses, there's no way that the chariots could go up this mountain. So God said, okay, you're going to assemble in Mount Tabor because they can't go up there. But then you're going to come down to where the river is, and then we're going to get them there. I mean, God knew everything, even the strategy for the battle. And I am wondering, what do you think Deborah was thinking when she had to go up to the army?
I mean, I imagine that because she's a leader, she's probably doing it, but there's got to be some kind of, I can't
Like,
believe.
I never thought about this
Maybe she had
before.
to borrow somebody's armor, but I imagine that she was out there, right?
Yeah,
'Cause she's
absolutely.
willing.
She goes with it.
And, you know, she's not the kind of counselor. Maybe you have, like, people who give you wisdom, but they never follow with their own.
No,
like, you should do this, you should do this.
no.
She gives Barak the advice and
Yes.
he says, go with me. And she goes,
Okay.
all right, I'll go with you. I'll borrow a spear. I'll come with you.
Yeah,
Because that's what I'm
so
also being
she
called
has
to
the
do.
apron, the armor, the court cases.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Maybe
because-
she has a tambourine. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. God has called me to this, so
Yeah,
we'll go.
I will
So
go.
let's pause for a moment to think, what could Deborah be thinking at this time?
Dear God, you always surprise me. I am so surprised that you chose me to fulfill all of these roles. But I will do whatever you have chosen me to do. I thought I would be known as the wife of Lapidoth, but you called me to be a judge over all of Israel. Me, a judge. And it still sounds so strange to say it out loud. I never could have imagined that I would be sitting under the palm trees, judging the sons of Israel. Surprisingly, you also called me to be a prophetess, to be your voice, and deliver a message, your messages to your people. And this time, you gave me a word for Barak. It is a very detailed command to march to Mount Tabor against Sisera. Yet what I love about it most is that you promised that the victory is assured. You said, I will give this battle into your hands. But still, there was something that I wasn't expecting. When I told your plans to Barak, he turned to me and he said, if you will go with me, then I will go. But if you will not go with me, then I will not go. Really, God? This sounds crazy. I know that you have called me to be a wife and a judge and a prophetess. But do you really want me to go into battle too? Barak, he wants to know that you're with him. Your word should be enough. But somehow, me going with him puts his mind at ease that this truly is from you. God, I will do Whatever you say, I will go wherever you lead me. Even if that means going into battle. Lord, your presence is with us. And that's all I care about. I trust your word. I trust your calling. And I trust that the victory is assured.
Of course, Deborah was a prophetess, so she was thinking God's thoughts because
Yes.
God had already communicated with her. But, you know, it's interesting for me, the whole geography of this battle. I explained already how Mount Tabor was not a place for chariots, so Barak was going to go there. But Sisera, the opposing commander, decides to go to the Kishon River. So let's read verse 13 of chapter 4 of Judges.
Sisera gathered together his 900 iron chariots and all the men with him from Harosheth Hagoyim to the Kishon River.
Yeah, and so the Kishon River, I studied this battle in a map, with a map, and it's very interesting because Sisera, the opposing commander, cleverly chose the valley of Jezreel, and I'm going to read here a comment that my Bible has, a study Bible, where his chariot forces would have ample maneuvering space to range the battlefield and attack in numbers from any quarter, because this is like a big riverbed. And he goes, hey, we have plenty of room for our chariots to maneuver here. What they did not know was that the Lord was going to send a storm in the river, and they were going to be washed away.
Yes.
Yeah, so see, don't forget that the battle is the Lord's.
It's the Lord's.
And behind the scene, whoever he chooses as his agents, there's this covenant that God has made of salvation. And he has the forces of nature with him. He can do anything, you know. So
and we're going to see two of the battles, the tactics of the battle, the water in the riverbed, and then, you know, supernatural forces.
Yes.
Now God's going to be like, okay, I'm going to put everything, I'm going to include everything in
together.
how we win this battle.
Yes, and that's let's read verse 14, because Deborah, who is a prophetess, says to Barak, okay, this is the moment. Let's do it now, because she knows when the storm is coming, when this is happening, the whole thing. Right? Let's just read it.
Then Deborah said to Barak, go, this is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. Has not the Lord gone ahead of you? So Barak went down to Mount Tabor, followed by 10,000 men. So he follows, he obeys.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we know, okay, now is the moment, but we freeze.
We are afraid. Go. And God will send, and you can read it later in chapter 5, verses 20 and 21, he sends a storm.
Yes.
And of course, they don't stand a chance.
They can't do anything. They have to, all 900 chariots.
Yeah, exactly. And it says here, the verse 15, the Lord routed or confused, that's the same word here, routed Sisera and all his chariots and all his army with the edge of the sword before Barak. And Sisera alighted from his chariot and fled away on foot. So Sisera is trying to escape.
Get out of there.
Yes.
Yeah, he has no regard for his men, his chariot. He's like, no, I just got to get out of here alive.
And of course, if you keep reading, another woman will find him, and he will think that she's on his side.
Yes. Come, lie down, a drink of water.
And then when he falls asleep, she kills him.
Yes.
And so that's the bottom line. And the reason why we have a song here on our drawing is a beautiful song. And for me, it's very dear, the fact that Deborah and Barak are both singing. You know, she calls herself a mother of Israel. But they're both singing because God has given the victory, not themselves. And I love this duet, men and women working together. You know, our country has gone through a lot in the last few years on racial tensions. But God doesn't have the barriers that we have. God sees all of us as his dear children because he died for all of us, men and women, black and white, young and old.
Yes.
You know, and so he says, please work together, sing the songs in duet.
That's right.
And in a whole choir made of men and women and young people and old people and black and white. You know, this racial tensions, this is not from God. Gender tension is not from God. You know, he wants his agents to do his bidding because he's the one doing the battle.
Take wisdom. Barak accepts the wisdom that comes from Deborah, and he wants her with him.
Can you
imagine that you want the people who are giving you guidance to go into battle with you? God needs to remind us that on these earthly battles, we might feel like we're fighting alone.
Yeah.
But could it be that we have an ally that we haven't recognized?
That's exactly.
Somebody who doesn't look like us or sound like us.
Yeah,
they're your ally if you let God use them.
Exactly. And you know what is interesting is that the us versus them mentality is not a mentality that comes from God.
No.
It's a human made up mentality. We are
Yes.
better than the other people. So those people can be used by God, cannot be used by God. I have to be used by God and people that look like me. And we, you know, I never expected, I never expected all the things that have come upon people, and even myself and you, because we're women or whatever in the ministry, right? But can you imagine what it would be like if everybody worked together for the kingdom of God? Because the battle is the Lord. So the battle of prejudice and inclusivity that we have in our heads sometimes, God says, okay, surrender that and let me work with everybody because the battle is mine.
Can you imagine if Barak had said, I don't accept this victory because it came not only from a woman, but a woman outside my tribe? He doesn't have to carry the whole responsibility of the nation. He can accept that God's hand is moving through everyone.
And why is this so important? Because, you know, the battle is the Lord's. God gave us a covenant that he would save the humankind. So that's the big picture. Our story is small here. But the time is coming when the end of the world is coming. And God says, I want everybody preaching the gospel, the good news, that there is salvation for everyone at the foot of the cross, for everyone, no matter what they look like, no matter what their accent is. You know, it's all tribes and people and nations. It's not one group over the other.
Yes.
And so there is a prophecy. I don't know if you have it. It's a beautiful prophecy in the prophet of Joel, chapter 2. We're going to read verses 28 and 29.
So, and afterward, I will pour my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions. Even on my servants, both men and women, I will pour out my spirit in those days.
Yes.
I believe we're in those days.
I believe so too. And God is waiting for us to say, okay, Lord, you want to save everyone and you can use everyone to preach the good news that there is salvation only in Christ.
Yes.
So it would be fantastic if we start doing that. And you know, Massiel, I have to go to the cross. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
It's a great story. And there's more great stories because we are going to be singing. We're going to be singing because the Lamb is victorious. Jesus is victorious. That's why we have put a crown here. The good news is that Jesus has won our salvation at the cross. And we're told in the book of Revelation that we're going to be singing. And I love this one song in Revelation 14:3 where we're surrounding the throne, where the Lamb is reigning. And it says, they sang a new song before the throne. The 144,000 who had been purchased from the earth. We are the 144,000. Everyone that will be saved. That's a symbolic number for all the men and women and children and old people and black and white. We're all going to be saved because of the cross, because of the blood of the Lamb. So what do you say we start singing now? The good news that Jesus has won for us. And let's start singing the good news of his victory. And let's start singing it now. And let's start singing it together.